could be in terms of our life, in terms of our human potential.
Yes.
Every single dream is a gem. Every single dream matters, even if it's a tiny snippet. Sometimes the tiniest little snippet you might pull back and you might think, this is nothing. But there's so many benefits. So it's very liberating because you're just finding your own moves and grooves and dancing to your own rhythm.
Welcome back to the Urban Eco Woman. We are here at one of the most innovative studios in the city, Dream Yoga Dance. We are here today talking with the founder, Julia Ray. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
So Julia is the founder of the Dream Yoga Dance Studio. She's a dream expert. She's also the founder of Ecstatic Dance, Toronto. She's a movement facilitator, a certified yoga teacher, and a DJ.
Thank you.
It's a lot. Firstly, what inspired you to open the Dream Yoga Dance Studio?
Well, dream, yoga, and dance have been the three practices that have most shaped and molded my life. Have been pretty much the most transformational in my own personal life. Yeah. So when I built the studio, I just decided I'm going to be very transparent and literal. Dream work, yoga, and dance. Yeah. Dream Yoga Dance. I decided just to call the studio that, and I think it has a nice little ring to it.
I think so too, and that's what kind of drew my attention walking by. Dream Yoga Dance. So let's talk about the first component of the studio philosophy, which is dream. Let's talk a little bit about dream work, and I guess what led you into the journey of becoming a dream worker, working with dreams?
Over 17 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with Meniere's syndrome, which is really debilitating. It's a damage to the nerve in the inner ear, and it causes very intense attacks. She was sent home to pretty much die, and I felt very desperate, and I felt very helpless. I didn't know what to do. So within this really horrible situation, I just got this sentence, these words came to me, and the statement was, one day, the day will come when the cure will be all around them, but they won't have eyes to see. I don't know where that came from, but it motivated me to go out and do something about it. So I just wanted to ease her pain. So I went and I kind of combed through both the medical and the alternative health care industry and tried all kinds of things over a period of a year. And through that search, I found Dr. Christopher Soughton, who works with dreams and homeopathy. Within about a 3-4 month period, her attacks began to ease, and that was very hopeful for me. So we embarked on this journey of dream work. And over a few year period, literally all of her symptoms disappeared. And it's been 17 years now, and she has been completely clear of all symptoms related to Meniere's syndrome.
So how does that directly correlate with the dream work?
Yeah, it's a good question. The dreams literally guided her out of this health crisis. One dream delivered a message and she responded to it, and another dream and another dream. So the dreams are like an inner guidance system, and they literally guided her out of this health crisis.
So, that begs the question, what is the significance of our dreams? Because I feel like sometimes they could be extremely abstract.
Yeah.
For example, some people have had dreams of themselves dying, or they've had just, they've reincarnated into like a flower or something. But again, they're just very abstract. So what is the significance of our dreams?
Well, dreams are constantly guiding us. They're constantly warning us. They're giving us advice, and they're showing us where we are in life right now. So where we are in life and where we could be in terms of our life, in terms of our human potential.
Yes.
You mentioned the abstractness. The dreams are very rarely literal. So they're sometimes literal, and you've heard of people dreaming about something and then it happens. So that happens, but it's maybe 1% of the time. Most of the time, dreams are very symbolic. So when you have a death, it oftentimes would mean that maybe some part of you is dying at work, and you need to look at your work situation, or some part of you is dying in this relationship that you're stuck in, and you need to do something about it, otherwise you might get sick. So oftentimes the death, which I know seems scary, isn't literal. It's actually very much a symbolic message that is being delivered, and a very important one, that requires our attention. So that's why dreams are important. They could be really speaking about any part of our life.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they are speaking about a part of our life that we're preoccupied with.
Yeah.
So wherever our attention is, whatever we're thinking about during the day, we'll be dreaming about it at night.
And I mean, I'm going to give a testimonial afterwards, because I did a dream work session with you.
Did.
And
very powerful.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to share it on the Urban Eco Woman is because it was definitely very powerful. It uncovered a lot. So the first question is about the dream work and your methodology is, I mean, how do you go about unpacking a dream?
Well, I ended up studying with Dr. Christopher Stoughton, and I work with a method called the dream reading method, which is basically rooted in dialogue. So much like we're sitting here, we would just discuss the dream. I would unpack the dream by asking you questions, and you would pretty much you're bringing all the content, you're bringing all the information. You know, I don't know, but I'm guiding you to unearth the message of the dream through dialogue. I really believe in the strong connection of mind and body. So I have also created a method called moving into the dream. That involves dancing and moving with the dream. I like to bring both into a session if the person's comfortable, or one or the other. It just depends on who I'm working with.
And I found for myself that it was the best method for me was moving through the dream. So we use both components in my dream session. And what I found was that, well, first of all, you were able within, I feel like even for the first 10-15 minutes, to tap into places within my inner being that a lot of practitioners haven't been able to. And I mean, I've seen hundreds of practitioners with the work that I do in the wellness industry. But within the first 10 minutes, I think it was the guided process that I felt it was very intimate. I felt very safe. It was non-judgmental. And this abstract dream that I had that I written down that I didn't even think was significant at all uncovered something really deeply rooted, which is this notion of self-doubt.
Yeah, it was a very powerful realization, because this harmful inner voice has been underpinning your life pretty much everywhere, and you weren't aware of it, which tells us that dreams don't waste their time. Dreams are always showing you a part of yourself that you don't see. Okay. So it's not going to waste its time with something that you already know about yourself. And this dream really delivered a very significant inner critical, harmful voice that was playing out in your work life, in your personal life. Now that you can recognize it, you can work with it to transform it, and that is a very, very powerful thing.
So, I mean, is it safe to say that the dream worker basically makes the subconscious conscious? Is it safe to say that?
When you work on a dream, you are taking something that is in the unconscious and playing out in your psyche, and you're bringing it into the conscious realm. It's still there acting out. And the reason it becomes a powerful, freeing process is that prior to doing the work, you were kind of a victim of that dynamic. It's still playing out, but you don't know. Yes. When you do the work, the dream work, and you bring it up to the conscious realm, now you can choose to work with it. You can choose to deal with it, transform it, make choices around what it is that was unearthed. So it is true. Absolutely. We're bringing things from the dark into the light so that we can be more empowered, so that we can be freer, so that we can make better choices about our life.
And I think that something that really resonated was the fact that this dream that just seemed to be very insignificant is significant. And when we talked about it, you were saying that every dream matters.
Yes, thank you. Every single dream is a gem. Every single dream matters, even if it's a tiny snippet. Sometimes the tiniest little snippet you might pull back and you might think, this is nothing. Yes. You would be amazed at how much information you can get about yourself from a tiny little snippet. So don't throw away any part of the dream. It's all really important.
And just quickly going into the, there was a chart that throughout the process of the dream work, you introduced me to a chart, which I found very interesting. Can you explain what that was?
Yeah, the chart is interesting because it captures some of the, what we call universal motifs.
Okay.
So some of the themes that are reoccurring amongst all of us that we've discovered from gathering and working with dreams and researching them over a longer period of time. For example, a shadow motif. A shadow motif is a part of ourselves that we're judging and criticizing that is a very powerful part. So it might come into the dream as a robber trying to break into your house. It might seem like a negative character and we're trying to keep it outside of our house. But once we actually make the encounter with the robber, we realize that actually it is a powerful part of ourselves that we're judging keeping outside of our psyche. So there are classic dreams that fall in these universal motifs that are really interesting that we've all had. And that's what the chart was about.
And so I guess the chart is part of the methodology of uncovering the dream as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So
something I sometimes like to bring the client to so that you can see.
And that helped me really understand it as well. And I mean, so you don't have to necessarily take it from me only. Julia is accessible. She operates obviously here again out of the Danforth, and you can. She's also it's also an international practice as well.
Yeah.
You can
Skype, email, phone.
Okay. So now I want to get into the second component of the studio philosophy, which is the dance philosophy, and specifically ecstatic dance. I'm ecstatic about ecstatic dance.
Me too.
So what is ecstatic dance for people who don't know what it is?
Ecstatic dance is the way that we used to gather as a community, as a tribe. We used to come together and dance as a way of life, as a way of celebrating birth, death, life, changing of the seasons. As you can imagine, our ancestors were a lot more connected to nature. It was a way of healing, as a way of health and healing, as a way of communing, with the gods, and a spiritual practice. And really it was a way of all kinds of things. So a way of coming together. And our ancestors and every culture around the world really has their form of ecstatic dance. And it's something that we've kind of lost in our modern culture. I always love sharing this fact, and I think it's so interesting to know that there's evidence of dance from the beginning of early recorded history.
Yes.
And so we've been dancing forever. It's really important to know that, and that our ancestors, that when we look at cave paintings, it's very interesting to know that the second most common activity in cave paintings is actually dancing. Next to hunting. So our ancestors, of course, hunted, but the second activity, the most important activity, was dance. So it was a very big, important part of our life that we've lost in our modern culture, and it is my passion to bring it back.
And what I really liked about the class was firstly, it's non-routine. There's no routine. I've been to a lot of dance classes in the city, and well, first of all, usually you walk in and you're surrounded by mirrors. Right. First of all, which is
no mirrors in this space.
Yeah. So you're surrounded by mirrors, and then you're with this instructor, and you have to do all these moves. And I've never been really good. I've always been wanting to do my own thing. I've really been
perfect. You're the perfect ecstatic dancer.
So I've never been one to just stand there and do moves. My moves were always off. Always. I mean, I just like the fact that I could just walk in. And there's no mirrors, there's no routine, you just do what you feel to do.
Exactly. There is no teacher. We kind of teach each other, and the space teaches us, which is the best way to learn.
It really is, and I think that from my experience, you just kind of feed off of everybody else's energy in the class. There's a big part. I mean, not to mention the workout, not to mention the fact that I walk out of there drenched in sweat. It's like a 2-hour workout.
Yeah, I pretty much look like I've taken a shower. I can do hours of yoga after all these years of practicing, and I don't break into a sweat. But when I'm ecstatic dancing, I'm like someone's throwing a bucket on me. So
well, it's like you're 12 years old. I mean, Julia, where do you get this energy? I mean, you're pulling up moves from like everywhere. I mean, I'm taking breaks, and you're just at it for like 2 hours straight. And I mean, we had this conversation before. You were telling me about how you can almost reverse your age. you know, through doing certain things like these. I mean, something like that. You elaborate on that.
Well, I want to touch upon what you said about the energy first.
Yes.
I've done maybe hundreds of dances, hundreds of ecstatic dances, and within the 2-hour period, I mean, very often I come so tired. The first 15 minutes I'm yawning. And as the night unfolds, I begin to access energy, and it's infectious. As you said, you feed off of everyone's energy, and the dancing itself helps me, and I don't know where it comes from, but access energy. And so many people say the same thing, that by the end of the night, you're so energized, alive, and it's phenomenal. It's something that you just need to experience. It's hard to describe, but it definitely is energizing. So I don't know about reversing, but for sure, you're going to tap into your youthfulness and be energized. I mean, I know for myself personally, in my 20s, I looked older, I wasn't as flexible, I wasn't as agile. I mean, now in my 40s, I feel far more alive and far more energetic and youthful. So I know that the Dream Yoga Dance, the practices that, as I said, have shaped and molded my life the most, have played an influence, all of them. So,
and in terms of the ecstatic dance specifically, so you should definitely check out one of those classes yourself, because again, it's all about practice and checking it out yourself. Just trying to pull everything together. Just give us, I guess, a few benefits of doing ecstatic dance.
I think the list goes on and on and on, but there's so many benefits. So it's very liberating, because you're just finding your own moves and grooves and dancing to your own rhythm and rhyme. It's very spontaneous. It's very raw and of the moment. A lot of people say they access their inner child. They're like children playing. It's very empowering in terms of coming together and meeting with like-minded and like-hearted people and being within a community. So many good things when we come together as a community and we dance, and it's so powerful, because living in a big city, people feel alone and people feel disconnected, and they feel like they have to do everything themselves alone. And having a community to come to that's soulful week after week really gives me and what others have echoed, a feeling of belonging. Like you belong to a community, and it becomes a very transformational, beautiful space.
It is, and you look forward to it. I mean, every Wednesday night I look forward to ecstatic dance. On Thursday night I look forward to it. But also something that you also touched on as well before was actually the fact that we live in a very regimented type of society, right? And the freedom that it offers, I think, is a big thing as well.
It's a big thing, the structures. So our life is very structured. We have our routines and our boxes and things that, we input information and we get outcomes, and to be able to come into a space and get lost and found really over a 2-hour period, and to be in the space that is very much about our freedom and much less about structure is so liberating. You just have to try it. Check the website, dreamyogadance.com.
Great.
Or Facebook.
And yes, before we kind of wrap up, let's get into the last component or philosophy of the studio, which is yoga. I mean, yoga studios are everywhere in our city. They pop up everywhere. I mean, what makes your yoga practice different than all the other ones?
It's a good question. I have studied many of the different styles of yoga that are popular, everything from the active to the restorative practices. I really lean into the restorative practice because it is one style of yoga that is for everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody can access the restorative practice. It's very deep. It's a deep release. It definitely quiets the mind, as my clients say, takes you down a notch, and enables you to really be in your work week from a calmer, deeper, more relaxed, balanced place. In terms of the mind, but in terms of the body, my restorative classes are very much about mobilizing the joints and releasing tension out of the body. No matter what you're doing, whether you're involved in sports or you're just walking around, gravity is always playing its role. And as we age, unless we actually are taking an active approach to releasing tension out of the joints, out of the muscles, out of the body, it continues to accumulate like sediment, like rock sediment. And the restorative class is very much about releasing tons of tension out of the body regularly, and it's just one class, an hour and a half a week. It's very pleasurable, and it's very effective. So I really endorse that class. It's my favorite style of yoga, and it's my favorite class to teach. So please check out our website for times of classes and updates and community events at dreamyogadance.com.
So I just want to thank you once again for sharing all of this transformational information with us. Dream Yoga Dance. Thank you so much, Julia Ray. Namaste.
Thank you.